The first question is just to introduce yourself and your role at your publishing company.
I'm Kate Watson, and I'm the Atlantic publicist at Nimbus Publishing and Vagrant Press in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Nimbus Publishing is the largest English language publisher east of Toronto, and we distribute other publishers here, which is sometimes confusing to people because when you look at our catalog, there's books from lots of other Atlantic publishers and they're in our warehouse and we can get them out to you. We used to be known primarily for our stories about Atlantic Canada specifically, and I would still say most of our stories have an Atlantic Canada component, but we tell big stories that are of interest to lots of people. Children's, nonfiction, and fiction.
Could you please describe your role in detail for us?
A publicist is someone who comes into the process after the book is complete. It's arrived from the printers, it's sitting in our warehouse. Now it's our job to, as publicists, to make sure that people know that this book is here and great and how they can get it. And there's a lot of ways to do that. I mean, part of it is reaching out to the media through media mailouts and press releases and so on. Part of it is having events, both online and in person, so that people can interact with the author, which also drives a lot of excitement for a book. Publicity and marketing go hand in hand. So we have a marketing team, but we're also part of that team. A really fun part of our job is we go to all sorts of conventions and so on, taking our Nimbus books in Canada and the States and around the world.
Now, if you could please walk us through a typical day at work and then maybe a not so typical day.
It's interesting in the day of a publicist. It depends so much on the time of year. For us, and I think for most publishing houses, we have two publishing seasons, spring and fall. And so when you're leading up to the season, there's a lot of in-office things to be done, a lot of just housekeeping and getting answers from authors before the book arrives about, you know, their availability, and just filling them in on the process of what's going to happen after their book is published. But then once the books are in, and we have 25 books a season, a day looks markedly different. So much of it can be having an event at night, and then the next day maybe coming in a bit later because you have another event that night, but you still have to catch up with the other 22 authors that you're planning things for. And at the same time, you know, around the events, that's when the media is really interested. So you're fielding calls and emails all the time to set up these media interviews with authors. So there's a slow time, which isn't that slow, but there's definitely a time when everything is going.
The next question is just, how does your role fit into kind of the ecosystem at Nimbus, and why is it important?
It's interesting because in some ways we think about our office the way it's set up as sort of the editorial end and then the marketing and promotion end. And so editorial is the first mother of whatever book comes along. The authors, you know, they bond with those editors, and we always say they imprint on them. And so it's very hard when you're moving from the editorial side of things to the promotion side of things to have authors understand that, you know, it's our baby now, and the editors have moved on to other books, and now we're going to help them launch this book out into the world. So, you know, we're two halves of the same birth process in a way for these wonderful books, but there's just definitely a divide from when the authors have to change over from, you know, talking to their editors daily to talking the other side of the office daily.
Maybe, Kate, you could speak on how different authors take to the publicity process.
There are definitely different kinds of authors when it comes to them taking part in the publicity. We spend a lot of time at the beginning of the process letting authors know what we can do for them and what they can do for themselves. I feel like the media, movies and books has led authors to believe that publicists are their personal publicists rather than being Nimbus's publicists. You know, we're all wanting the same thing. We want those books out there and we want them sold. So we're partners, but I'm a partner with 25 people at one time. It's really difficult to be an author, and I can see that. I mean, you're toiling away with these people in your head that you're putting down on paper, and then suddenly it's out the door, and then someone like me is saying, okay, now you have to get on social media and tweet and well, let's get some Instagram pictures up there and share a bit about your life, but not too much about your life. And it's a real, you're changing gears so quickly. And some authors, it's like breathing to them. They can do it, and others, it's more of a learning process. But I find that everybody is willing to do some part of it.
The next question is just, what is your favorite part of your job?
Oh, I really have found, I wouldn't maybe have been able to say this 3 years ago, but I think my favorite part is the events. And I didn't know how much I loved them until COVID came and it all went online. But there's something really exciting about having a party for a book and having people show up and buy it and express, you know, how happy they are to be part of it. And I love planning events, and I like being at events.
Can you tell us, what would someone outside of the industry be surprised to learn about your role?
I think there is this sense that publishing is glamorous, like somehow we're all sitting around in our suits with our martinis at the end of the day or something. And the truth is, I mean, it's really hard work, and it's a lot of slogging books around, and it's a lot of sitting at your computer replying to emails. I mean, it's definitely fun, but it's not particularly, you know, photogenic or high class or any of those things you might think.
So I was wondering if you could speak to how publicity in the publishing sector has evolved recently.
Social media is so important to publicity now. And I had an example the other day. I had sent the book and the press release off to CBC radio in Halifax to a specific host. And then the author got a hold of me and said, I'm going to be on this show. And I said, oh, that's great. You know, I sent the book off to Jeff last week and I'm sure he loved it. And she said, no, his producer saw what I had posted on some sort of Instagram page about tiny houses and thought that's really interesting, and called me up and got me on the show. And I thought, well, there you go. My book is probably still languishing in the post office room, you know, at the CBC. And with Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, it's like, it's out there. And I can amplify what authors say, and authors can amplify what I say. It's changed a lot.
Why is independent Canadian publishing important?
It's so hard to answer because it seems like it's just self-evident. It's important because there are so many stories to tell. And we heard about how everything was going to change, and pretty soon people wouldn't be reading, or people would only want it on tablets or whatever. And the truth is, I think that reading is a human joy. I feel like it's never going to go out of style, and there's a need for good stories for children and adults. And I think it's really important that independent publishers are out there, you know, telling regional stories and bigger.